Something feels off, not dramatic, not cinematic, just off. You go to the supermarket and the total is higher than it should be. You look at housing and think, how is this still the price? You check your savings, your investments, your salary, and somehow the math still feels tighter than it used to. Maybe you are working harder, maybe you are earning more than you did a few years ago, and yet life does not feel lighter. That quiet discomfort matters. Because most of the time, big economic change does not arrive with sirens. It arrives as pressure. Pressure on the monthly payment, pressure on the grocery bill, pressure in the pause before clicking confirm on something you used to buy without thinking. Pressure in the question people are asking quietly. Am I still moving forward? Or am I just surviving more elegantly? You are not imagining it. We are living through a transition, not a collapse, but a shift. And the people who understand this shift early will make very different decisions from the people who don't. Welcome to the Pacific Brief. I'm Ingrid Nelson. And today I want to walk you through what is actually changing in your money, your job, inflation and housing, and what you should be tracking now before this quiet shift becomes painfully obvious to everyone else. For a long time, the system felt understandable. You work, you save, you invest. You build slowly, trusting that the system will reward your efforts over time. That was the promise. Not perfection, just a sense that effort and stability still had a relationship. But here is the truth. That environment was not permanent. It was a phase. And now, quietly, we are entering a different one. The system is evolving underneath people's feet, and when systems evolve, the rules change before the headlines catch up. That is why people feel confused right now, because they are trying to live by rules that belong to the previous chapter. Let's start with money. Not your paycheck, not your bank balance. The system around money. For years, money was cheap. Cheap enough that borrowing felt normal, cheap enough that housing could keep rising. When money is cheap, almost everything looks easier than it really is. That era is ending. Today, money has a cost again. Interest rates are higher, debt matters more, lenders are more cautious, investors are less forgiving, and that changes daily life in ways that do not always show up in one dramatic headline. You feel it when a bank says no, a refinance no longer makes sense, or the monthly payment becomes the real wall. This is why life feels tighter, even when the economy still looks fine on paper, because the friction has returned. What should you track? Track the direction of interest rates. Track how tight credit is becoming. Track the debt burden governments are carrying, because when debt becomes expensive, somebody always feels it downstream. Now let's talk about jobs. This is where the emotional reality hits fastest. What we are seeing is something quieter, a job market that looks alive but feels less generous. Hiring becomes more selective. Companies want more output from fewer people. Efficiency becomes the religion. So yes, you may still have a job, but the deeper question becomes, how secure is it? How replaceable is it? How quickly could your role be redesigned, outsourced, automated, or compressed into one title? This is why people feel tired in a new way, not just overworked, but exposed. So much of middle-class confidence rests on the idea of security and upward movement. Right now, that is being tested. What should you track? Track hiring trends, not just unemployment headlines. Track which sectors are freezing. Track how AI and automation are changing tasks inside jobs, not just replacing whole jobs. Because in this phase, the question is whether you are becoming more valuable or more vulnerable. Now let's talk about the thing almost everyone feels. Inflation. Most people think prices are going up. That is true, but incomplete. Inflation is not only about price, it is about trust in the stability of everyday life. When energy moves, everything moves. Food, transport, manufacturing, shipping, travel, household budgets. And when the world becomes more unstable, the cost structure of daily life feels heavier than just higher prices. It feels like uncertainty. You do not know what your grocery bill will look like next month. Businesses do not know how to price with confidence. Uncertainty spreads faster than any official number. It changes family decisions, whether people renovate, relocate, or wait. That is why inflation is not just a technical metric, it is psychological. What should you track? Track energy prices. Track food supply pressure. Track inflation expectations. Because when expectations move, behavior moves. And when behavior moves, entire economies begin to shift. Now let's bring this to the most personal and emotionally loaded part of the economy, housing. For many people, housing was never just about a building. It was about stability, a future, a stake in something. That is why the housing conversation hurts. Because for many, housing no longer feels like a ladder. It feels like a test they keep studying for and still cannot pass. Interest rates are high. Prices are still elevated. Sellers sitting on low-rate mortgages don't want to cut. Buyers can't step in because financing is too expensive. We have a standoff. Sometimes it just hardens. And when it hardens, it becomes uneven. It no longer just reflects supply and demand. It reflects access. What should you track? Mortgage rates, inventory, regional demand, wage growth compared to monthly housing cost. Because the real question is no longer just, where are prices going? It is, who can still enter? Now connect all four together. When money is expensive, jobs selective, inflation uncertain, and housing hard to access, you do not necessarily get one giant collapse. You get pressure. Pressure on the household, pressure on the middle class, pressure on couples to delay having children, pressure on young professionals moving back home, pressure on older workers. And pressure is dangerous because it arrives quietly. It does not always look like a disaster. Sometimes it looks like life is becoming heavier. That is the quiet shift. But here is the part I do not want you to miss. This shift is also an opportunity. Because when a system changes, illusions break first. And once illusions break, you can finally see what matters. You stop mistaking rising markets for security. You start asking better questions. And better questions are the beginning of better decisions. That is why the Pacific Brief exists. Not to scare you, but to help you see clearly. So you can recognize the shift before it reaches deeper. Because in this new phase, it is not just about how much you earn. It is about how well you understand the system you are living inside.